So I mean, I guess we should get into the nitty gritty of it straight away. As of recording, I saw this I think 3 days ago now. You saw it today.
Oh, and big
How?
spoilers. If we haven't already spoiled it,
Oh
I
my
get.
God! It's
I
spoil city.
I was gonna say I know we did this last week with Twisters, but this is a movie that definitely has some stuff we don't want to spoil for people. Or sorry,
There's
we are
things I
going to
would have
spoil
been
for people. So
furious. I would have been furious if I had not known.
yeah, take a time out right now. This is your warning to leave this episode and come back after you've seen the movie. So
by definition alone, they're inferior films. Films. Sequels suck. Sequels suck. Sequels suck. Films.
welcome back, movie fans. This is the podcast Sequels Suck, and with you today we've got the Holy Trinity to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine. And funnily enough, it's a movie that deals with multiverses and different timelines and strands. And in a different timeline, this podcast may have already been recorded. Angus, do you know anything about this?
Can neither confirm nor deny, but perhaps in Earth 617, this podcast has already gone out to great acclaim. And that's why, that podcast is the gambit of this universe. It exists, but we've just never seen it.
Yes. I wasn't on that one because in Universe 617, I'm a fish. So
that's right. You don't get to talk pods.
Couldn't do it.
And I don't know who the anchor point was for that first podcast either. So
neither of you.
It was Haley Joel Osment. He's the anchor point of everything.
What a deep cut! My goodness.
Anyway, and I guess it was really important for us anyway that we did want Regan to come on. Regan's a massive, Deadpool fan, massive comic book fan, loves his superhero stuff, and something we did touch on the alternate reality podcast. We did say we don't do superhero movies that often. We did get to speak to you about Batman Returns only recently, and before that we did the Suicide Squad, which was I think episode 14 of the podcast, and we're up to
early
50 something.
days.
So
yeah,
I mean, it's interesting that it's got to this point, and this is sort of really the first big, relatively recent movie, and it's the biggest movie in the world at the moment.
Yep. Well, yeah, and that's interesting that you talk about like we don't do superheroes much because we have technically done this podcast before. I've had some time to think about it, but we have been in such a glut. I haven't felt like talking about superhero movies because I felt like when it came to movies, the only thing I was seeing and hearing in the rest of the world was superheroes. When we were doing the podcast, I wanted to try and get away. I wanted to talk about, the old school stuff, the Beverly Hills Cop 2s, or even, the newer, sequels that had nothing to do with superheroes. But it's not that I mean, at least for me, I don't know you, Cable, but I wasn't actively trying to avoid superhero sequels. It was never on the top of my list. I was never thinking I would talk about them. So it's kind of nice that we are.
It's interesting, and now that you've said that, I do think there's probably Star Wars is probably the exception to the rule, I would say, because that's what I grew up with. But you're right, superhero movies, we almost it's oversaturation, and I think it's like oh well, it's there. We'll talk about it one day. And yeah, it is like, oh, I want to talk about Aliens or The Thing or The Mummy Returns or some of these movies that are a bit more old school now that aren't, fresh and new in the last sort of 5 to 10 years. Like even I'd love to go talk about Superman 2. And that's what, late 70s, early 80s, 79-ish?
Yeah, early 80, 81.
And then obviously like Batman Returns, it was good to look back at something that was very 90s.
But they're both definitively sequels that we don't live in that landscape anymore. These things are part of a collective that makes them like me and the missus recently we watched them, which is where you go to the bathroom while you're watching. No, we rewatched the first two Captain America films, and they are in the early days of Marvel. They felt like sequels as opposed to post, kind of the second Avengers picture, maybe. Sort of getting towards the Infinity War and Endgame stuff. Now they're all such a huge collective. Nothing feels like a sequel. It just feels like the next chapter of this large thing. No.
Well, I remember vividly. My wife and I with when Civil War came out, and I'd been dipping in and out of the Marvels. I was kind of up to date, but not 100%. And she had fallen right off since like the first phase of stuff. But it was at the cinemas, and we had a night out, and I was like, "Oh, let's go see Civil War. It'll be good." And she's like, I don't know, I haven't seen them in a couple of years. Do I need to have seen them? I'm like, no, it'll be fine. And like 5 minutes in, she just turned to me and she's like, "I have no fucking idea what's happening. Why did you bring me to this movie?" And it's been like that ever since. And something that I think that really is interesting about Deadpool and Wolverine, it feels like a sequel to Deadpool and Deadpool 2. It feels kind of like almost not quite a sequel to Logan, I guess, because he's dead, but there's a reason that he's not dead. But something that I'm talking to a lot of people about after seeing the movie is more than a sequel and more than a crossover. It feels like just referencing the news. It feels like we're just talking about all of the movies that have or have not happened. All the jokes are about not the characters. They're about Kevin Feige. They're about 20th Century Fox. They're about all of the X-Men movies that fell to shit. Like, this is a sequel to the behind the scenes stuff that's been going on for the past decade more than the other movies. At least that's how I felt. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like we're getting the sequel to the story rather than the sequel to the movies. What did you guys think about the in-joke upon in-joke of this movie?
I think it's there's because it lives in the world, that fourth wall breaking world, you can get away with this stuff, but also like, you get people, all the cameos and all that kind of stuff as well. And it's kind of the only place you could do this. They do it in other things and you feel like it's really forced, or they're setting up multiverse or whatever. Like, this is what Multiverse of Madness should have been. You know what I mean? But it's so self-serious. You could only do it in a context where you can bring in Channing Tatum to play Gambit, and it's kind of a gag. And then the self-referential part of it, like, the funniest jokes were the ones at the expense of the two actors. Like, the one that absolutely killed me, and I don't know, I might have been the only person who was awake in the cinema at that time, but the joke that really killed me was when he's like, "Oh, who's this guy? It's the Wolverine. He's normally got his shirt off, but he's let himself go since the divorce."
That was a great one. That was a great joke.
Absolutely killed me. Like, this is, you're right, it can only live in this world. If you were to do that in a normal Marvel movie, not at all.
Yeah. It's I couldn't agree more. It's even like, again, we may have spoken about this last week. The other one was the reference to Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck and Elektra. Like, he's dead. It doesn't.
In the same scene, you had the Blade one where he's like, "I don't like you." Well, you never did, because of what happened on the set of Blade Trinity.
Yeah.
So,
Which I didn't get at all when I was watching the movie. It wasn't until afterwards, and it's not just. But again, that's a joke on a joke on a joke, because there is a scene in Blade Trinity where Blade says to Ryan Reynolds' character, "I don't like you." But also behind the scenes, Wesley Snipes was saying to Ryan Reynolds, "I don't like you." So it's just like burying deep down into the earth of these jokes that have been going on forever. And it's incredible. The jokes that they threw in at the expense of the piousness of Chris Evans's Captain America, and the fact that, all through the Marvel movies, Cap doesn't swear, Cap doesn't do anything impolite. Johnny Storm, however, will say the most heinous shit possible and then suffer the most horrific death in the history of the MCU.
Brooklyn accent I've ever heard as well. Like, he was really laying it on.
It was so good. It was such a ridiculous thing. I cheered when the Johnny Storm cameo happened. I like fist pumped and audibly said "fuck yeah" in a cinema with like 4 other people who were not there with me. I was sitting by myself in a row, and I said out loud "fuck yeah" because I thought that was great when we did that. Same, I did it with Blade when Blade walked on. It was Wesley Snipes.
I threw my hands up, man. I love Wes. Like,
I love Wes too.
Great, man.
And I love that he was in there. I loved it. Was so forced and so shoehorned in, but I still absolutely love some motherfuckers still trying to ice skate uphill. I think like you couldn't not put that joke into this movie, but also there was nowhere for that joke in this movie. So there's like, we're doing it. We don't give a shit. We are putting that joke in this movie.
We're just going to shoot it and find a place for it. Also, him at the end, like saying, "There's only, how many Punishers have died? Which one was this? There's only one Blade. There's only going to be one Blade." And the look of the camera, like, because that movie is just,
But again, like that is not a joke. That is a joke referencing something that happened in the 3 existing Blade movies. That's a joke referencing news articles about the fact that Mahershala Ali's Blade has been in development hell for the last 5 years. Like you have to know everything around the movies to get probably, I'd say, 60% of the jokes in this film, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but it is a very interesting thing to see in a movie that's now entering a universe that for so long has been so insistent that everything that happened in universe is referenced in other films and cross-referenced, and it all connects, and you can watch, She-Hulk, and you can understand 10% of what's happening in Loki without ever having seen Loki. And they just kind of seem to take the hand off the leash a little bit in this movie, which was quite refreshing. I thought.
Like no leash whatsoever.
So I guess Regan and even Angus to a lesser extent, did you, going into this movie, did you rewatch any of the movies leading in? Because I'm my habit normally, if I've got time, like if I'm about to see the next movie or the next sequel, I'll normally watch the preceding film, if not all of the films leading up. Didn't have that time. Would have loved to have revisited X-Men, but I'm making sure I'm watching Logan the night before. Did you watch anything? Because I did feel like, oh geez, it would have been nice to brush up even more, because like Angus said, there was definitely some jokes that I think were there, but didn't really probably hit with me 100% because I didn't have it fresh in my mind.
Yeah, I've got a pretty good memory for this kind of recall for this stuff. I did rewatch Deadpool and Deadpool 2 recently. Deadpool 2, I had the director's commentary on though, which was interesting. And I rewatched Logan because me and Addy in the Film Addicts podcast, we're going to do an episode of it, and then he was ill, so we haven't had a chance to record it yet. So I had kind of that going on, and I remember thinking, I hope they don't tarnish, because Logan's so good, like it's almost a perfect movie. I hope they don't tarnish it, and then they kind of did intentionally, even bringing in X-23. But then I was kind of all right with it as well, because if Hugh Jackman's all right with it, I'm fucking all right with it, He's not going to come along and do it if he thinks, like, they probably backed a truck of money up to his house, like filled with gold bullion or whatever. But it's I can get on board with it, But I recently rewatched all the X-Men films anyway, because we were doing a series of them on the Film Addicts podcast, so I was ready.
Yeah.
It's how little I rewatched everything. I rewatched Deadpool and Deadpool 2 probably around like March, April, because I watched a trailer for Deadpool Wolverine, got so excited. I was like, I need some Deadpool, and I watched them then and haven't rewatched them since. I haven't rewatched any of the others. I haven't rewatched an X-Men movie in so long. I watched Deadpool and Wolverine, and I was like, man, like those guys are really good together. I really like seeing Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds together. How did they become friends? I wonder how they became friends. And I was Googling, I was like, they must have done movies together before. Like they really have good chemistry. And then I looked and was like, Ryan Reynolds was in X-Men Origins. And then it all came floating back. I was like, oh my fucking God, that's why I had just deleted it from my brain. I had forgot, as I was watching Deadpool Wolverine, I completely forgot that Deadpool version 1 was in Wolverine version 1 when they both went out all those years ago.
It's because he changed the timeline at the end of Deadpool 2 and you forgot about it. That's what happened.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. But I do think that is a testament to this movie.
But I think there's something about that. I think those Wolverine films weren't necessarily lauded, and a lot of people pan them. So you probably half forget it to a point, and then all of a sudden Ryan Reynolds becomes the Green Lantern, and that was the big thing. So there's probably this whole, and then he becomes the new, like I said, Deadpool version 2.0, amazing. It's probably easy to forget that he was actually Deadpool one other time in a more Disney.
Also, that Deadpool was so insanely different from what Deadpool actually is. It was really name only that you can call that character Deadpool.
Well, even the comic version Deadpool isn't like this. Like there's adult content and there's hyper violence, but I mean every second joke was a joke, and I love this, was a joke about how, Deadpool, the character in this series of films, is pansexual. Like, when the guys come and answer the door, when he answers the TVA, and he's like, puts the mint in, he goes, this isn't Pretty Woman, we're going to be kissing. What song do you usually dance to? Like, and he's like, yeah, let's keep that, and we're going to do it angry. Like, that, the sexual stuff going on in this is outrageous.
Yeah. Which is canon. Like, in the comic books, they're saying, because his brain keeps getting, like, blown apart and then regrowing. Like, he constantly is changing his sexuality. identity, his gender identity, everything, because his
Why not,
brain is
man?
literally regrowing all the time, which I think is fucking genius
Yeah.
because it makes sense that would happen.
And they're not like hanging a hat on it. It's just like, I don't
No.
see gender, it's my curse and my blessing kind of situation.
Yes.
They just kind of let it happen. Whereas
They roll with it.
other things, they kind of, make a big song and a dance about the whole thing. But I think that the thing that's bravest about it, and brave, but in terms of the storytelling, is to let them be self-referential in terms of what's going on in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Not only are they doing what has been so incredibly unsuccessful for Marvel since the multiverse
post
started.
Endgame.
Yeah, post Endgame. He's like, it's not great. Like, it's been miss after miss after miss. Like, that's Marvel going, all right, we know. And everybody talking about this is going to be a course correct and all this stuff. It's all a red herring, friends. There's no Thor and Deadpool scene coming up. This is Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman's swan song. And you can tell because the movie starts with bye, bye, bye.
Well, yeah.
And there's a scene where what's the cat's name? It's not Foggy Nelson. He played that in Daredevil. What does Favreau
John
play
Favreau.
again?
Yeah, he plays Happy Hogan.
He's doing that bit, and it actually gets quite somber for a moment. And Deadpool says, I don't want to be a one-trick pony all my life. That's Ryan Reynolds saying he's done with this. Like, Homie is a great actor. He's a really good dramatic actor. He was in a fantastic film called The Captive by Anton Egon, and it's just a spectacular performance from a dramatic actor, and he hasn't been able to do that in forever because everybody manacled him to the persona of Deadpool. Even other shit that he was in, like Six Underground and stuff, and Red Notice and all that bollocks. This is him going, I'm ready to get back to what I actually want to do, which is being passionate about being a serious actor. And Hugh's probably the same. He didn't want to get in that shape he's going to be 60 in a couple of days.
It's interesting that you're talking about that because the first thing that happened after Deadpool Wolverine was released, which is now worldwide, it's basically old news because it's been a couple of days, but is that the Comic-Con, they announced that RDJ is back as Victor Von Doom in Doomsday, which was sort of whispered about and talked about because there is timelines within the comic books where there is a variant of Tony Stark where he is Victor Von Doom, and people were kind of talking about it because obviously somewhere someone had whispered, hey, I think this is going to happen. But now what's happened after that is that the original story outlines for the Kang Dynasty, which is the ditched Avengers 5, have started to leak. And what is leaked from the Kang Dynasty is that it was going to be a Spider-Man centric film. It was going to be the anchor beings from several universes, and it was going to be Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland, and Andrew Garfield back again. It was going to be a Punisher, and it was going to be Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, and they were going to be the ones fighting Kang, and they were going to lose, and then that would lead us into 6, which would be like the Battle World, and all the other
Secret
anchor
Wars.
beings would have to come in for Secret Wars. So that's
Who
obviously
was the
been
Punisher?
scrapped.
Which Punisher was it? Did they say?
They
Was it
didn't
Thomas
say.
Jane?
I would love it if it was Thomas Jane, but also I can't remember the guy's name. But the guy who is the Punisher in War, is it called Warzone? The
Ray
follow-up.
Stevenson. He
Yeah,
died. There wouldn't be him.
Oh shit, he did die. Oh, that's so sad. No, now I'm sad again. I did know
Passed
he
away
died.
after just after Andor came out because he was in that.
God, he was a fantastic Punisher, and R.I.P. to the goat. But yeah, so that was going to be the plot for that. So there has obviously been in the works for a long time. Let's get Hugh in on this, and they found, I think, the perfect way to bring back. But he has said, and I think you're right. I think they are both done with it. I think the amount of times that Ryan Reynolds jokes about they're going to make you do this till you're 90, Disney's never going to like. I think they are saying all of that because they're like, we get that this is ridiculous that this man is still playing Wolverine at this age.
Also, that Disney has had the rights to this group of characters back again for quite some time, and they still haven't been able to crack it. Like, they still got him back. There's a world where there's an alternate universe where they made a Deadpool movie and that Wolverine wasn't Hugh, it was whoever the fuck it is they cast next, whether it was Henry Cavill or whatever, which
great cameo.
That blew my mind.
Or maybe the ultimate justice would have been if the variant of Wolverine was Dougray Scott and the man could finally fucking get back in the spandex. But I wonder if this is the swan song for Hugh Jackman, because the two things he said he was always regretful of playing Wolverine for so long is he never wore the yellow suit and he never got to be in an Avengers movie. So now that we are coming into 2 Avengers movies, one that has been heavily retconned post Deadpool and Wolverine, I can only assume that the Russo brothers are madly scribbling in a storyline where Wolverine steps in to save the day somewhere towards the end of the second act because things are turning to shit for the Avengers, and he reluctantly agrees to join them or some shit, and everyone loses their minds, and then he maybe dies again. I don't know. He's obviously like, fuck it, kill me off. Like if he gets to wear the suit and be in an Avengers movie, I think that is his checklist done. But I wouldn't be surprised if we never saw Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool again. Or no, I won't say never. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool for 10 years and then he came back and did it again. I would be very surprised if we don't see Hugh Jackman in one of the next two Avengers movies. I think there's too much money to be had and too much fun to be had because they're the kings of the world right now. Like,
yeah.
This
movie
all
is
time.
an absolute juggernaut, and
Neither of them have had a
intended.
hit in such a long time that even comes close to being anywhere near this.
Greatest Showman was the last movie that I can think of.
And was that a hit? Like, that's beloved.
Not, yeah, but it's beloved by fans. Critically, it bombed. It didn't do well, and it bombed at the box office. So,
like, was Logan his last box office smash? Bad Education got absolutely buried in COVID, and it's one of his best movies.
Yeah, that's a great film, actually. What was that? So 2017 was Logan. So yeah, I mean, we're talking
like Ryan Reynolds, like
years.
You just said, like he's been shackled to Deadpool. He's done other roles; they've been good, or varying degrees of good. But
I haven't seen that new John Krasinski picture. Have you guys seen that?
Nope.
No.
My kids were just not that interested. I don't know if they even got it. Did they get advertised that much? I feel like I did see the odd trailer. So much. Really see it, and did it drop a bit too before school holidays? Is that? I feel like it was a couple of weeks before, and then Inside Out 2 was coming out like 2 or 3 weeks later, and that's all my kids cared about. And then that's the biggest movie this year so far.
It's the biggest animated movie of all time.
Well, there you go.
$2.4 billion.
No, Inside Out.
Oh, Inside Out 2. Right. Yeah, it just knocked Avengers out of the top 10 highest grossing movies of all time.
And that's crazy too. It's a good film, but I didn't realize so many people loved that.
That's also the people who were young enough to be like children age, like child age, watching the first one, and now those people are either early like 20s or late teens.
Well, yeah, it was 9 years ago because I saw the first one I watched the first one in a drive-in with my daughter as a newborn in my lap, and she's just about to turn 10. So it's
wow. Well, there you go.
Yeah, it's been almost a decade between drinks, and wow, yeah, it's a huge one. So,
speaking of hits, I know Regan touched on Song and Dance, and then Bye Bye Bye. That's had a resurgence. Backstreet Boys and
wow.
NSYNC. Sorry,
NSYNC and Justin.
Bye Bye is like this worldwide hit again on Spotify. And,
it's like top 10 everywhere.
It's crazy.
That's what happened with that the Casey Chambers. Was it Casey Chambers song in Stranger Things?
Kate Bush.
Kate Bush. I get those two confused all the time.
And that was isn't that Sean Levy as well? That was
that's true.
And Master of Puppets as well.
Yeah.
Stranger Things. Master of Puppets just was #1 for a couple of weeks after that scene with Eddie.
Unfortunately, not Jim Croce's "Don't Mess Around with Jim" though, which is what my favourites. It's in the scene. I think it's the first or the second season of Stranger Things, and it's where they've got to clean up the place where Eleven's playing, and David Arbor puts on the record, and it's Jim Croce, and I was like, I fucking love Jim Croce now. That's what's up.
Amazing. The music in this song was good. In this movie was good.
Picture,
I thought.
Before you talk about those needle drops, I also realised, and I was kind of wrapped. I thought it was Ryan Reynolds, but Ryan Reynolds is not Deadpool in that opening scene when he's dancing.
No, I saw that Instagram reel as well.
And I was like, oh wow, it's a proper professional dancer. Got in the suit, did the NSYNC choreography, and I was like, oh. There was something about Ryan Reynolds actually doing it would have been just makes it so much better. When you think it's Ryan Reynolds, you think, oh, he's just so into this, and it's like it's kind of a little bit of a downer. It's not him.
It wasn't because it made me think afterwards, like, how much was Ryan Reynolds in this fucking movie? Like, I know he didn't do all of his own stunts, and he wears the mask pretty much the entire time. Did he even show up? Did he just voice over this fucking thing?
There's a lot of ADR. You can hear it.
Yeah.
But it's also because I was listening to the director's commentary, which has Ryan Reynolds on it. It's him and the two directors or the writer or something. and they're talking about it, and they're writing jokes like up until the very, very moment they release, because he's in the mask. They can loop whatever they want anytime. So things are always changing. So every time there's a gag, there is 50 alternates of that gag that they've tried, just in the ADR process. So
isn't that beautiful that a mask can hide enough of that you could, like you said, effectively have a joke that you wrote on day one, you recorded, it was funny, but editing, blah, blah, you're about to release, you go, hang on, we can chuck a new joke that's really referential right this minute and topical, and we can change it at the drop of a hat. It's pretty unique.
You can
I wonder
have a
how
joke
many
like where he says, if you don't let us go, this man here will burst into the second act of Music Man with zero warm up. That was my fiance works in theater, and she lost her mind.
That was a very good joke. I like that a lot.
That's a last minute one. You know what I mean?
But it's impressive to a degree that they were doing that and they didn't fuck it up. Like, it's one of the worst things you can do when you're writing comedy is to override it, and you get past the point of the performance, and you keep writing, and you write yourself out of the punchline, and you wind up with all of these great ideas. But it's 4 o'clock in the morning. You've been editing the same scene for 3 days, and you've lost all context. And you're like, this is funny, and everyone else in the world is like, we didn't hear the 37 jokes that led to this joke. This is just between you and Bill, the fucking coffee guy. No one gets this. And they managed to skirt that. At least, I think 99% of the time. There was probably a few moments in this where I was like, but the rest of the time.
Oh, there's some esoteric shit in there, but
yeah,
they're having a good time, so we're having a good time.
Yep.
And I think there is something innate about Ryan Reynolds as a performer, as a person, and also Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, that if you like it, that is the thing. It's not the jokes, it's not the action, it's not whatever the story is. It's Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool is the thing you like. So really, anywhere he goes, you're like, this is fun. And I'm one of those people. Anytime that he is in Deadpool mode, I'm like, this is great. I don't need the story to be amazing. And probably worth bringing up at this point, the story of Deadpool Wolverine is not amazing. It's like a 1-paragraph outline of a story, and then it's another 97 pages of just jokes and cartoons of how we're going to kill people. Like, the story of this movie is Ryan Reynolds wants to be an Avenger. He gets told no. He gets told his world is dying. He goes to steal a Wolverine to fix it. He finds out the guy who told him the world is dying is the bad guy. Credits. Like, that's the movie.
Yeah.
Everything else that happens is just kind of action scene, dick joke, action scene, dance number. It's so bare bones. But if you like Wolverine and you like Deadpool, you don't give a shit. And I didn't really give a shit. I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm glad you didn't have to complicate this.
People are taking it way too seriously, because now that it lives inside Marvel, everybody's attaching their Marvel ideas to it. And that's what we've done over the last 15 years, is build up an idea of what we think this shit should be. And that's not how it works, friends. Like, you rent this shit for the price of a movie ticket, and sometimes when you get a rental, it ain't so good. It ain't exactly what you want, but you deal with it because that's what they give you. You know what I mean? This stuff it doesn't belong to us, and everyone's like, oh, it's this, and the story doesn't make any sense. Can we just have a good time? Can we just have a fucking good time without placing our personalities on? Star Wars is the saying, Cable. Like, people like live into this stuff so much that if it's a slight variation or not exactly what they want, they lose their fucking shit. It's a movie. Like, after 90 minutes, it's off, and you can go and do whatever else it is. You can have a biscuit or a lie down, and it doesn't change it's not going to change the planet. You know what I mean? Like, relax, everybody. There's bigger things going on in the world. We should just go in and enjoy the bright colors and the fact that homie pulls that mask down and the sparks fly out.
Come on,
and the schnickdy schnoin. It's on. Just have a good time and treat yourself for 5 minutes. Life is short.
Yeah, beautiful insight into Regan's downtime there. Have a biscuit or a lie down is his go-to
for those things in that order.
Yeah,
perfect way.
I try and live by that motto too. Like, not take it too seriously. I mean, there was a Star Wars movie that I got a bit upset about, but I didn't get on social media and bang on about it. I just went home disappointed, and that was it.
Was it?
And here you are wearing a hat of the worst Star Wars movie ever, right?
Yeah,
right
was
on Zoom.
Yeah, so it is what it is, but you go.
I was just saying, I think part of the problem is Marvel has worked so earnestly and so endlessly to make people feel like these movies are the be all and end all for 10 years. Like, if you go back and watch Iron Man is fucking fun. It's a Jon Favreau movie. It's not an MCU movie. It's a fun movie where Robert Downey Jr. and Jon Favreau are like, hey man, we're kind of sick of where our careers are. Let's see if we can have a good time and make some cash out of this. You know, maybe we'll buy a beach house. They had no idea and no intention that it was going to turn into what it became. And with each progressive movie, it got a bit more self-serious and a bit more until it got to the point where people watching it are like, where's the bit where someone just makes a joke and does some cool superhero shit and then credits? Why is this 47 movies crammed into 3.5 hours every fucking time I sit down to watch a movie? And it's taken, I think, Marvel a lot of time to unlearn some of the things they taught themselves about how we're gonna do this, because we've been told as an audience, this matters, this is important. Everything has been building to Endgame. This is the cinematic moment of our lifetimes. Yeah. It's the most important thing that's ever going to happen to you. And people, like you talked about before, Rick, like you have people who literally grew up on these movies now. Like they've been around so long. There are kids who are adults now who have had these movies be the movies. And it's why people our age are kind of like, fucking Ghostbusters and Back to the Future. You don't know, that's the shit, because it's just been there our whole lives. And now there are younger people who MCU has been there their whole lives. And now it's kind of like the Emperor has no clothes. They've grown up and they're like, wait, so hang on, the guy with the shield, we're meant to treat him like Jesus? Like, hang on a second, what the fuck is going on? Why are these guys in tight leather pants so important? They haven't done anything important. They're not fun and they're not interesting. Why are we watching these movies? And that's when it all went in the bin. Yeah. So I guess in that regard, Deadpool literally is Marvel Jesus, because he's just kind of rocked up and me like, guys, my children, chill the fuck out. All right, calm down. Let's all love each other. Let's have a good time. Let's have a biscuit. Like, it's really, it's exactly. So much, it's so much palate cleansing that we needed. Have a biscuit,
all right, everybody.
So I guess something that me and Angus had talked about last week, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Is this even a sequel? Or is it like a spin-off movie or whatever? Because I do feel like, well, you don't have to do the same thing you did in each movie when you make a sequel. There was definitely some Deadpool stuff from the first two movies. It didn't really carry across to this, because obviously it's heavily involved with Wolverine and there's a whole other thing going on. But it did feel, while part of the same universe, quite different from those first two movies. Would you say it's, because in my head when I was going to this movie, well, pre even all the promotion, I thought this was totally Deadpool 3, and then it officially became Deadpool and Wolverine, and then it was like, well, maybe this is a different beast. And it does feel like it's closer to an MCU movie, obviously with all the different links to the other stuff, especially from Loki and just the multiverse and all that sort of jazz, that it feels like, Deadpool spin-off movie more than an actual Deadpool sequel.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about the actual Marvel cinematic movies, there's only one of them which have like actual sequels, and it's Iron Man. There's Iron Man, then there's Iron Man 2, then there's Iron Man 3. That's a trilogy, and they sequelize each other. Everything else is the name of the character and a subtitle. Deadpool 1, Deadpool 2, Deadpool and Wolverine, it's completely removed. The only thing that you get sort of that tangentially relates them is Vanessa and the cast of people at his birthday party at the beginning, and that's just DNA. But this is, I mean, it is a sequel because I'm on the Sequel Suck podcast.
Yes.
but like functionally, it works as if you were to take a property and, you know, Iron Man's a good example, actually. The first Iron Man movie wasn't a Marvel Studios. It was just Marvel was producing it, and Paramount were the people who were distributing it and stuff. They plucked him out and put him into this Marvel Studios MCU that, you know, was born out of it, and that was when you get him in Avengers and you get him in Civil War and all that stuff. So I kind of feel like it's that. I kind of feel like they've gone Deadpool's house and put him over here, you know, because the other two were definitely Fox. I mean, obviously the first one was Marvel hadn't bought the X universe yet when 2 came out, had they? Yeah,
no.
That's half the thing there.
And I think it's also I like the titling of it. I talk about titles a lot in this podcast because I get too upset about them, and I know this.
You need to chill out and have a biscuit and lie down.
We're glad that's taken on.
all of us fucking movie nerds, we're allowed one thing that we get too passionate about, and mine is when they just title something and it doesn't Aliens, Alien 3. It's the one I keep coming back to. I'll fucking die on that hill. That's the dumbest thing anyone's ever done. Be more creative. Like Fast and the Furious 4 being called Fast and Furious. Fucking come on, guys, just take an extra 10 minutes. But this one, not being Deadpool 3, being called Deadpool Wolverine, feels deliberate because I think they're kind of saying, hey, we're leaving the door open. Maybe we will make Deadpool 3 one day. This isn't it. But it also is reminiscent of the comic books that these characters are based on, where you can have Batman comics and running at the exact same time. You can have Detective Comics, and you can have Batman and Superman, and you can have, I don't know, The Dark Knight, and you can have all of these different comic books running all at the same time with the same characters, but different storylines. And it's okay because they're not real. You're just having fun. And I think it feels like that's kind of a subliminal thing. They're like, this isn't part of the Deadpool comic book series. This isn't part of the Wolverine comic book series. This isn't part of the Avengers comic book series. This is just two characters you like. We're throwing them in a comic book series. They're going to go on an adventure. And when that arc finishes, we'll just stop running that book. And it did feel like that. What it also felt like is it feels more like the Marvel TV shows than the Marvel movies.
100%.
Because if you look at things like She-Hulk, WandaVision, stuff like that, Loki, where they're willing to take chances, they're willing to have fun, they're willing to be a little bit weirder, it fits into those. And I think that's why when it hits the middle bit, when they're in the void and there's a lot of TVA stuff and they're talking, and he literally says, oh, you mean from Loki season 1, episode 5? I personally start to feel like, this is starting to feel like a bit like a long episode of a TV show as opposed to a movie. And I don't really like that. I like movies to be movies, especially if you're asking people to shell out, $20 to go and watch it in a cinema. Make a fucking movie, guys. Don't make a long TV episode. It's really my only sort of gripe is that I feel like they fumbled the tone a little bit in that bit because they obviously needed to lean quite heavily on the world they built in the TV show Loki. But it's interesting that they are choosing to go more with that vibe for this movie than the vibe of Logan or Avengers or, I don't know, Captain Marvel or any of the movies or Eternals, anything that they've like pushed as this is where we're going. It's like they didn't quite know what to do. And they're like, I don't know, people liked it when, Agatha was a bit weird. Let's fucking just do weird shit. Do that.
It does feel very TV. Like
I don't know what comes next.
I don't think they really know either, apart from Robert Downey Jr. as Doom. But the TV vibe of it, and if you look at again, I watched the Cap 1 and 2 the other day. Cap 2 is my favorite. It's like
it's
one of the best movies they've made.
Espionage thriller.
Yes, 100%.
Robert Redford's in it for crying out loud.
Well, I've always thought, when you watch all those films, the one movie that actually feels like it could actually be realistic enough to exist in our world is that movie. Like all the others, you've got all these comic book characters, superheroes, ridiculous stuff happening. But like you said, Captain America has the powers, but it does feel like everything in that movie, like you said, espionage, it feels almost like not quite James Bond, but sort of in that world, and it just feels very anchored in reality in a lot of ways. It just there's something different about it, and a good different about it that makes it stand above any of the other Marvel films.
It's shot specifically as well. Like if you look at, Iron Man's a good example as well. But anything sort of pre-Ultron has a tone and a specifically within the shooting of it, the direction of the photography, not the direction as a director directs a film, but how the camera moves and what the light's doing and where the shadows are and where the highlights are and all that stuff. And these things are dynamic and there's contrast and a complexity of the images. All this stuff, you're right, Angus, it all looks like TV now. Like Deadpool and Wolverine is a beautiful looking film. I think the costumes are great. The colors are wonderful. The choreography is really smart. The fight stuff, the CG's done particularly well, but there's nothing dynamic about the way that it's shot. It's very flat. It's very easy to see everything. There's no rich highlights or there's no rich blacks or highlights anywhere. It's just oh, it's all on display. You know, there's no ambiguity.
The scene where
whatsoever.
with Deadpool and Wolverine, where he pulls on the mask and they fight the army of Deadpools to get to the TVA. It's the most obvious looking soundstage I've ever seen in my life, but it also looks like it could be a scene from an NBC sitcom, like the way that it's shot and staged. It is very like, this is not real, guys.
And
we
that's
don't
okay.
care
He's
if
a
you think
TV
it is.
guy. He's a TV dude, you know.
Yeah, which is fine because it works for this movie. Something that
but it's not Sean Levy, is it? Is that
It is, yeah.
he directed this one. Yeah, he directed two, and he directed this one.
Before you jump away, I will say there was something you mentioned last week. You hit it again just before, Angus, was, you know, we're shelling out good money to go see these films, and while it's great to have supplementary material in TV shows, I still feel like I don't like, if I'm going to go see a movie, I think everything should be self-contained, and if anything, the TV show should give you maybe a richer, if you want more information or you want to have more adventures, that should add to the movie experience, not the other way around. I don't think you should have to have watched a TV show that, especially is a subscription on Disney and not, you know, it's like another paid for product, to fully enjoy a movie. I think it should be the other way around. The movie's there, you pay for it, and if you want extra content and delve more into that universe, it should, you know what I mean? Like, it should be reversed. It shouldn't have to. And that, the way I sort of think about it is like the Star Wars films. You go to see a Star Wars film at the cinemas, and then if you love that universe so much and you want to go back there, and there's no film out, or you've seen the movie a million times, you can go watch the Clone Wars, which expands the story, or you can watch what was the other one with the
Rebels was great.
Yeah, exactly. So there's extra stuff you can watch that doesn't necessarily tie into the movie.
You fucking nerds talk about Rebels.
Well, yeah.
Rebels is fucking
But you know
great.
what I'm saying? And this is not an anti-Loki or WandaVision or anything like that. It's just I haven't gone down that rabbit hole yet. And yeah, one day I will, but I don't like that I feel like I miss out on something by watching a film because I haven't seen the show.
But, and it definitely feels like with
Deadpool
Wolverine.
This is the TVA. There's this the Time Variance Association or whatever the fuck it is. Get on with the story. Like I haven't seen the second season of Loki.
Nor I.
The first season, so I think I was still drinking back then. So it's all gone.
But it definitely, this is the first in this sort of wave of Marvel movies that have existed in our lives for so long now. It's the first one that feels like the movie is serving the TV shows rather than the other way around. And
yes.
I get it. I think it gets carried off in this movie because it is Deadpool Wolverine, because Deadpool can break the fourth wall and he can be so irreverent, and he can just flat out say, like, this is Loki season 1 episode 5, so we all know these things and it doesn't matter. But I do wonder, like, in the next iteration of Marvel movies that we get, are they going to be like, oh, Deadpool Wolverine was a massive hit and it really leaned heavily on the TV shows, so from now on, like, we're going to do that, or is this a one-off? Something that I find interesting. It's at the very beginning of August as we record. This is the last Marvel movie we're getting this year.
Wow.
We're not getting any other Marvel movies until February 2025, when we get a Captain America: Brave New World, which is already being Thunderbolts is May 2025. Fantastic Four is July 2025. Allegedly, Blade is November 2025. I'll be stunned if that comes to fruition.
No, it isn't.
And
I will be playing Blade before you see that happen.
That's the end of that for 20. So that they are currently holding true to their promise that they are reducing the amount of TV shows and movies they put out. After that, after 2025, 2026, the first slated Marvel movie in February of 2026 is currently called Untitled Marvel Movie. Then we get Avengers Doomsday in May. Then after that, in November, we get another Untitled Marvel movie. Then
It'll
in May of
either Spider-Man flicks, probably.
May of 2027, we get Avengers Secret War. And then the next 2 movies in 2027 are Untitled Marvel movies. I think the reason they are Untitled Marvel movies is because I think everything really hinged on how Deadpool and Wolverine did, and also whether or not they could sign RDJ to do this new Avengers 5, because they were binning the Kang Dynasty and what that meant for the next films going forward. I think they're really in a wait and see phase, and instead of planning out their movies 10 years in advance, they're like, let's leave slots, and whatever is successful, we're just going to do that.
What?
We're gonna convince Hugh and Ryan to come back for Deadpool Wolverine 2.
As someone that hasn't watched or hasn't really followed the MCU since Endgame, apart from the Spider-Man stuff, I understand it's blanking on me, but Kang, like, obviously he's been cut, he's cancelled because he's had
Jonathan Majors.
Jonathan Majors. Yeah.
Why don't they just recast him? Why are they revert? Like, I don't understand why. If he was so important to what they had sort of set up, why aren't they not just recasting? It's not like they never recast before.
I think it's a couple of things. I think it's like it's tainted fruit now. You can't wash the reason that he's recast out of people's mouths, and I think they don't want to risk people not seeing the movie or seeing the movie and being like, yeah, but like the reason that Jonathan Majors is in this is because he beat up his partner, and I don't like that. The other thing is Kang is introduced and developed in Loki. And I think prior to Deadpool Wolverine, they were probably like, we don't know if we can build movies off TV shows yet. Not that Deadpool did that, but Deadpool
was he in Ant-Man and
he was the main antagonist in.
Oh, he's in Quantum. See, I haven't kept up on that.
I mean, that kind of ends his story a little bit too. Like,
yeah,
I feel like they were like, we need a course correct because this isn't working. Like the Jonathan Majors thing is absolutely like his firing. You know that of them course correcting is a byproduct of that, absolutely. But I feel like them going, what we're doing right now isn't working, and we need to switch it up. And they go to RDJ. Like the thing about that is, and I'll just say it really quickly on it, is that everyone's like losing their fucking mind over it and all this kind of stuff. And he doesn't need the money. Homie just want a statue. Like the story must be good. He's not going to come back if it's not. The Russo brothers have a reason to come back.
He's getting in the vicinity of $100 million to do it. I mean, everyone has a price.
Of course, but like
he didn't get paid that much for Oppenheimer.
No, but I just mean like in terms of his career, like he could do whatever he wants. You know, he's choosing to do this. He doesn't need the money. The guy's got plenty of money. Like I feel like the Russos have convinced him because either the script's great or the outline's great, or he gets to work with some people he's always wanted to work with. Fucking Hugh Jackman, you know what I'm saying? You know, like it's just, there has to be a reason for it. And I trust in RDJ, man. That makes
my conspiracy theory is that Kevin Feige went to him and was like, Robert, congratulations on the Academy Awards. Not even that. I think it's like, congratulations on the Academy Award. I think you're aware of the fact that over the past decade, I've said about acquiring pretty much every film studio in America, and Disney owns everything. Come and do Doomsday, or you're not working for a major studio ever again. You'll be an indie film kid for the rest of your life. I mean, you said he doesn't need that. You saying the story must be amazing. I don't believe the script is written yet. I think they are scrambling. I think they probably went to him. They either went to him and said, you owe us. We made you. You are where you are because of the Marvel Universe. Come back and do this, or we're going to make sure no studio puts you in a movie. Like if Disney owns the studio, you're out, buddy. Or they went to him and like, come and do this. You can have input in every way that you want. And after you do this,
you can do whatever
anything you want is greenlit. You have carte blanche, make whatever movie you want. You get $100 million budget out.
I was going to say, I feel like it's close to that. I feel like it's the Weinstein's going to Wes Craven and say, we want you back for another 2 Scream films, and you can do whatever you want. We don't care if it's not a horror film. We'll give you the money to do your, music film with Meryl Streep. You know what I mean? Like, do whatever you want, but we want you back for Scream 2 and 3, and we'll pay you, but we need you. And it's probably the thing. It's like, I don't get it. Like, I love Robert Downey Jr., but it feels like a real like hit the panic button. You know, that meme where the guy's like stressing out. It's like, oh shit,
publicly announcing we've shit the bed and we need help. We need Dad. Get Dad, guys. Get Dad.
Yeah.
This is really bad.
It's scary enough. Like, obviously, it's almost like life imitating art, because it's like Robert Downey Jr., like you said, is almost like that first Iron Man film's the sort of the takeoff of this whole universe, and he's so integral to it. He's like, I'll only do X amount of films, and he obviously was well paid too as it went along, and he finally dies, and he's finally relieved of his duties, and also he's the multi-billionaire, and it's a lot of the Avengers, everything's funded by him, and it's like, since he's left, it's like fallen off a fucking cliff, and now they're like, oh no, we need him back. So come and save us. Come and save us again.
I hope they do in
wanting them to
Doomsday.
be like, so get Wolverine back and get Johnny Storm back in the costume. That'll be fun. And where's Blade? Get Blade back, and let's get Downey back. And all that. It's looking back and going, what worked? Because what's going on right now doesn't. It's nostalgia porn, you know.
I hope that Doomsday starts the same way that Deadpool and Wolverine starts, with Tony Stark at the end of the game lying there, and Gwyneth Paltrow just being like, "It's okay, you can rest now," and he dies, and then Kevin Feige steps in the screen, bitch slaps him, and goes, "Psych, get up! You got to do 4 more movies," and drags him, and then it's the credits.
Put this green hood on, you bitch.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of like a Robert Downey Jr. production, written and directed by Robert Downey Jr., starring Robert Downey Jr. movies coming out of Disney, Fox, any company that is owned by that conglomerate.
Hey man, his dad was a great director. There's
God bless him. I want to see Robert Downey. Like, he loves a weird character. You know, he was Chaplin. He did that weird homeless piano movie guy, the violin guy, soloist. Like, let's let Robert Downey Jr. cook. Be weird.
Kiss, kiss, bang, bang. The singing detective.
Tropic Thunder. Like, let's go crazy.
Maybe not that one.
But he has proven to us he's willing to go for it. And so if he's going to walk out of this with a green light to make any friggin' movie he wants, maybe we're going to get Putney Swope too. Like, who knows what the hell's going to happen? But we might get some really, really weird, cool shit. And Kang Dynasty is just the price of admission. Doomsday is just the price of admission. I'm all for it. Let's go.
Okay.
100 years of RDJ. I freaking love that guy.
And I've just realised we've just gone into this rabbit hole of the Marvel Universe, and we're not even talking about really the movie that we actually are supposed to be talking about.
Everybody knows.
But
this movie is responsible for all this, and tangentially it is, and it is a multiverse movie that is. Look, bring it back to this movie. I think that this is a better multiverse movie than Endgame or any other kind of multiverse story that Marvel has dabbled with, because it's simultaneously doing the things we want it to do, in that we're seeing Wesley Snipes as Blade. We're seeing Gambit come out in a movie, and it's played by Channing Tatum, who was meant to have a Gambit movie that never happened. So he has those great in-jokes. He's like, I was born in this world, I think. I don't even know if my world knows I exist. Really, really great meta stuff. So as an audience, we're like, oh my God, this is so cool. We're going to see those actors together as a team, like as a weird kind of pseudo X-Force. This is incredible. But it also is a multiverse story where it's like, how fucking stupid are multiverse stories? Like, everyone doesn't like them, and they're stupid, and they don't make sense. And the movie the whole time is telling us, like, multiverse movies are dumb. Movies with multiple timelines and dimensions are dumb. We should get rid of them. We need to cut this shit out. The whole movie is about, we need to cut this shit out. We need to stop having multiple timelines. It's dumb. People hate it. Like,
and yet
that's
does it successfully.
Brilliant. It does it successfully
because it's not taking it seriously. Like, if it was just a Wolverine movie and all this shit was happening, it wouldn't work.
Well, this does actually bring me to my... It's not quite a gripe, but I'm curious about what you guys think about this. Because of what the movie is, because of the way the movie sets itself, because of the tone that is taken, when we get to that third act kind of crisis point, and one of them has to sacrifice their lives to save the world, that bore no weight with me whatsoever. I did not for a second believe that either of them were going to die. I did not believe both of them were going to die. I didn't believe anyone was any peril. But I think in that moment, the movie tried to make us believe that either Ryan Reynolds or Hugh Jackman were going to die at the end of this movie to save the world. And that was the reason for this movie existing in the first place. Did either of you buy into that? Did you feel like maybe they would kill Logan again, or maybe they would kill Deadpool?
What did I say last week? Because I can't remember.
I honestly can't remember.
No,
I'll check the tapes.
No, but it's funny you say that about you weren't expecting one of them they're not going to kill them, but it was like there were so many other surprises in the movie that I wasn't spoiled on, like obviously the appearance of Wesley Snipes as Blade, you know, Jennifer Garner as Elektra, and like I said, Channing Tatum's Gambit. There's so many little surprises. I'm like, you know what? It wouldn't surprise me if Ryan Reynolds kills himself off, or Wolverine. You know, Ryan Reynolds has that nudge, nudge, wink, wink, we're going to kill Logan again. Like, it wouldn't have surprised me at all. The fake out that Ryan or Deadpool puts himself in that position to save his universe sort of did surprise me. But then once Logan got in there, I'm like, hang on, wouldn't the two cancel each other out and they might survive this? So, but it wouldn't have, yeah. Nothing would have surprised me, to be totally honest.
I wasn't. It didn't cross my mind at all. Like there's a Madonna song going on in the background. Like they tried to do it a few times to have the moment where Logan's talking to X-23 Laura and talking about how he was pissed and came home from the pub and the humans had come and killed all the X-Men. I don't know how they managed that. Like, I understand that human beings can turn up with a bunch of pistols and things
I could have done
but...
with an extra 3 sentences of explanation in that moment.
Yeah,
it was like, I went to the pub and I came back and they killed them all. I was like, well, if they killed
how?
every single mutant except you wouldn't have made any difference, champ. Like,
well, I mean, I understand.
Cyclops is way tougher than you.
The idea of him being there and unkillable, like if these guys were, they cut his head off or whatever, but you can shoot Cyclops in the forehead and he will die. But I still feel like you got to get up pretty goddamn early to break into the X mansion and take these homies out. X2 proved that, but however, it was Wolverine who did most of the damage. But anyway, I never felt the peril, when at any point, and I don't fault it for that. Like it's playing what it is. It's just an excuse to have kinetic energy tear off Hugh Jackman's shirt so that we can have a gag about that after where he goes, put away your greasy tits, you preening slut. Like no one could say that in a Marvel movie ever. You know what I mean? Like he even calls the little dog a C-word skin.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to put that word on your show. Sometimes it just pops up. But like when the dog runs towards him.
Oh yeah.
He's like, oh, my little C-word skin. It's a Marvel picture, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, there is never any threat of anything bad happening in this movie, and I kind of dug.
No, I think there's only one sincere moment in the whole movie that they just leave, and that's when X-23 is by the fire with him, and the scene is kind of a little shaky. I'm like that. Neither of you are really carrying the weight of what's going on until she gets up to leave. And he says, I can't remember the exact line, what he says. This is like, I'm not the guy you think I am, or I'm not the guy for this or something. And she says, you never were. And then she walks away. I was like, oh, you guys managed to nail some sincerity there at the end of what I thought was going to be a bit of a car crash of a scene. I was like, I get why you put it in. But then they undid it a little bit. I don't know if you guys caught this or if I missed something. When they flash back to that moment, they flash back and she says that you never were, and then there's an extra line we didn't see where she says until you are, or until you were never the guy until you were, or you were never right for this, whatever the exact line is. And I was like, okay, I kind of get that. But then a couple of times they do more flashback stuff to stuff we never saw from Deadpool and Wolverine. I was like, what the fuck is happening here? Why are we flashing back to other stuff we never saw? This feels like an episode of Rick and Morty where it's flashback to episodes that we never saw as an audience.
Yeah.
Did I miss something there, or is that just a really weird moment in this movie?
They do it. The one that I notice is when it cuts back to him, like where he convinces Wolverine convinces Deadpool to take off Cassandra Nova's helmet. And he's like, I'm not going to kill you because Charles wouldn't want me to, sort of thing. And he says, I wear this uniform. I'm proud to wear this uniform because it reminds me of who, the people I lost and stuff. That wasn't in that scene at all. But that's like
a very important thing. Like the whole movie, everyone's like, why are you wearing that suit? Yeah. And he won't talk about it. And then we see it in a weird flashback moment. I don't know. That bit confused the hell out of me.
There's some clunky editing going on for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mentioned that last week to Angus. I did feel like I do like when they kind of keep us a little bit on edge, and then we get a flashback or we get more exposition later after the fact. I get it, and then you go, oh wow, yeah, okay, that's what's happened. But I did feel like the editing, especially early on, because I'm like, what's happening here? Okay, they're in an alternate timeline. Vanessa's still alive, but they're not together, and then a lot of that got explained a little bit later on in another sort of flashback, and you go, oh, now I get it. I know what's going on now. But, yeah, I don't know if they nailed the editing on this. That would be my one negatives. I feel like maybe their choice of where they put things was not necessarily as seamless as it should have been.
Yeah, it doesn't open, because it opens with that truly excellent digging up the grave, bye scene. But the next thing we see is like him talking to Happy about my girl's going to leave me because, I'm not the guy. I'm like, where is that scene? When we saw you guys at the end of Deadpool 2, you brought her back from the dead and you were very in love and everything was great. Why are we not getting It's almost like they're like, oh, we can't have any scenes of actual character development in this movie unless they are specifically about Deadpool or Wolverine. We can't have Vanessa be a real character in this movie. She is a cardboard cutout. And that annoyed me because I think that in Deadpool 1, that's what made that movie so good, is those two are so fun as a couple. They have such great chemistry. They are so dynamic as a couple. When like he leaves her, every time I watch the movie, I'm like, oh, don't do it, no. And then when she's in danger at the end of the movie, I'm like, oh my god, if she dies, like that would kill him and me. Like, don't let her die, please. I've never cared more about a character in a superhero movie than when Vanessa is almost going to die in Deadpool.
I've
And
got
in
a
Deadpool
T-shirt
2,
that says, like, and I wear it at the gym. That says it's like a singlet. And it says, "Training to rescue Vanessa," and it's got the Deadpool logo on it. Like she's a huge part of that movie.
And Deadpool 2, they just do her away, and it was so frustrating the way they just got rid of her.
Woman in a fridge situation, yeah.
And then Deadpool and Wolverine, she's there and they've already broken up and they don't even bother explaining. And then at the end, they kind of get back together, but they don't even bother explaining. And I was like, this was the thing in the first movie. This is the whole reason for the movie existing. The whole reason for Deadpool existing is the Vanessa character.
Yeah.
Like he wouldn't even try to stay alive.
She's awesome.
For her.
Like, you know, like she's a great actress.
She is an incredible actress. So that bit annoyed me a bit. To pivot away from negative, it is a Deadpool and Wolverine movie, and there is so many awesome Deadpools and Wolverines in this movie. Some of my favorite moments are like when they're running through the Deadpools and they comic accurate, you know, all of the different ones. The one that nailed to the giant X and the skulls. He's missing a hand, and he's just stabs the shit out. Age of Apocalypse. The one that fucking just had me giggling my ass off was the comic book accurate height Wolverine, because that thing is, for anyone who has read anything about like the X-Men movies since they came out, the hardcore fanboys have always bitched that Hugh Jackman is not comic accurate. Logan is like 5'5". He's like a short king. He's this little stocky Canadian guy, and Hugh Jackman just isn't it. To take the time to show you what that actually fucking looks like, to finally shut those guys up, made my heart sing. I thought that was amazing.
I think it would have been really good if it had been Danny DeVito, but whatever.
Yeah.
I love
that. Would be incredible.
It would have been great.
What do they call him? Cavalrine? Is that what they call him?
Yeah.
The Cavalrine. I mean, he's even taller and bigger than friggin' Hugh, but man, he would be a good replacement. And saying like outright, like, we'll treat you so much better than those
dickheads down the street. Yeah,
just beautiful. I also loved the army of Deadpools. My dream scenario would be, instead of Peter showing up and being like, "Hey, it's Peter. We love Peter," end of Deadpools for the rest of the movie, is if the Deadpool army like teamed up with Deadpool and Wolverine, and then they went and fucked up a bunch of guys together, and you saw an army of Deadpools fighting an army of just random bad guys to be killed, because there are some really fun ones in there. Yeah, kill a bunch of TVA goons. So some of the fun ones are Nice Pool. I thought was incredible. I think that's Ryan Reynolds saying like, "I just need a couple of days on set where I don't have to wear the fucking mask, guys. Can we write a character where I can have my mask off?" And very, very funny. Some I missed the first time around, but I've seen since. Welsh Pool is in there. There is a player from Wrexham FC, which Ryan Reynolds famously owns, who plays Welsh Pool. One of the random Deadpools is played by Spider-Man actor Tom Holland's brother.
Yeah,
he just showed up to be. Blake Lively obviously is Lady Pool. I wish that she had been a bit more.
Daughter.
Kid Pool is their daughter, and the Cowboy Pool. Who did I see was? I think it's
McConaughey.
McConaughey.
Yeah.
But was he on set, or did he just voice it? I can't remember.
It's just a voice.
But
Nathan
McConaughey,
Fillion does one as well. He's the disembodied head.
Yes, he is the disembodied head Deadpool. Just like really, you can tell that stuff like that. This movie is made by people who wanted to have fun and who gave a shit. And again, like, not to harp on it, but I just haven't felt that in Marvel movies for quite a while.
Yeah.
Like, you're watching people who genuinely like, "Oh my god, this would be fucking so fun. Let's do this."
Wouldn't it be fun if we had the like Reese says, "Oh yeah, the John Brown and tan. That's my Wolverine there. That's when I was reading X-Men when I was a kid."
Yes.
So like, "Oh, didn't you fight the Hulk in this?" Like, and it's all right on the money too. Like, it's, you know, and the Gambit costume is flat out the costume from the cartoon.
I didn't think they could do it in real life, and they did. And
it doesn't work. It doesn't work. He looks ridiculous.
But Channing Tatum,
yeah,
I believe it. Let's go.
And he was,
you know, it's funny. I remember buying a packet of X-Men cards when I think Fleer or Upper Deck brought them out back when, that
I think
was
it was
huge.
Fleer. I remember them. Yeah,
And
the
it was
Spider-Man ones
like,
as
would have
well.
been 94-ish. And I remember one of the first cards, one of the first special cards I got was a Gambit one. And it's the same, like Channing Tatum looked exactly like that card from 1994. Like it
He
was
even had
just,
like the pole, like the energy. I
Stuff.
don't know
yeah,
what you would call it, the energy force staff that he used to beat the shit out of people.
Taylor Kitsch was somewhere going, fuck.
yeah.
I mean,
He's probably doing that a lot about
another
his
victim
career.
of X-Men Origins.
Yeah, or John Carter of Mars, but whichever.
Oh, that man! Someone
Yes.
needs to give him a biscuit. Like he's
I
really,
don't
He's
like
Canadian
it.
too. He needs a
he's
biscuit to lie
struggled.
down, eh?
He's really needed.
I was going to say something me and Angus had discussed in this alternate reality. Were you spoiled on any of these cameos or anything like that? Because I know the only one. What did I say last week? The only thing I knew, I kind of half got spoiled was X-23 was probably in this film, but I had no idea Wesley Snipes was going to turn up. And like I said, that was the biggest like celebration moment. And I'm like, oh my god! And it was only probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. You and me had talked about we're going to talk Angus into doing Blade 2 as a episode of Sequel Start because I love Blade.
Yeah.
And to see him in there, I'm like, oh, this is so good. It's
When he walked in, I threw my hands up. But Blade 1 is a perfect movie. I think it's probably be my second or third favorite comic book movie of all time, behind Returns, of course. Blade 2 is just Guillermo del Toro, like forget about it with fucking vagina mouthed vampires, fucking Donnie Yen doing fly kicks and stuff, like can't be beat. Yeah, so when he turned up, but no, I didn't. I knew that Lara was in it because she was in some of the trailers, but I stopped watching the trailers because they just give away the farm these days.
Oh, I'm glad you said that because that was my other sort of gripe. I think the last 2 trailers gave way too much away, and like even that final scene with Madonna, or they even had that in the trailer. I was kind of like, oh, they won't play that song in the movie, and they did, and it still worked. But it was like, but you kind of showed the trick already to me in the trailer. But anyway,
yeah, it's
the
just
best
getting away with telling. I mean, remember when Ragnarok came out? That was like the last trailer for that, and they revealed that the Hulk was in it. Wouldn't it have been awesome if you just went to Ragnarok and Hulk turned up?
yes,
People would be fucking taking their shirts off and beating themselves off at the screen if that had happened. You know what I mean? Like it's just like it really does the idea that you've got to get like it's a Deadpool movie. People are gonna fucking go if you just had Wolverine come on screen and say, "I'm in the movie." And then
that's
the
what the first. Well, sorry, not the very first. I'd say that's maybe like the second or third trailer they released years ago when they were doing the teasers. When they first announced they're doing another Deadpool, and Ryan Reynolds was doing like it was just him sitting on a couch in a house talking to the camera.
Yeah.
And the third one they did was him being like, "We've been working on this movie for months now, and we've been throwing out all these ideas, and we've been working on these great storylines. And I got to be honest with you guys, we got nothing, and I don't know what to do." And then he just goes, and Hugh Jackman walks behind him drinking a coffee. He's like, "Hey, Hugh, you want to be Wolverine again?" And there's 2 versions, I swear to God. I haven't been able to find both. One version, he goes, "Sure," and he walks upstairs. The other version, he goes, "Fuck off, Ryan," and he walks upstairs. But that was, he just looks at the camera and just kind of grins. You're like, oh my God, is fucking Hugh Jackman back?
And Angel of the Morning kicks in as well.
Yeah, and that was it. That's all you ever needed to do. That's the best trailer for a movie in decades. It's certainly the best superhero movie trailer in decades. You had everyone who was ever going to pay money for a ticket and drag their significant other along was in the second that Hugh Jackman walked into frame. Why the fuck are you doing? But they didn't stop at Comic-Con, like opening weekend. It came out on like the Wednesday or the Thursday. They had the big Hall H thing on the Saturday. They brought Jennifer Garner, Channing Tatum, Wesley Snipes out on stage and announced to this audience, these guys are in the movie playing Blade, playing Gambit. And when Marvel released the video on TikTok, they had Ryan Reynolds be like, "All right, we got Hugh Jackman here," and he came. He's like, "And fuck it, let's introduce a few more of the people." And then it cuts, and Marvel's like, "You didn't think we were going to show you, did you?" You scroll 2 more fucking reels down on TikTok, and there's someone in the audience who has posted the video.
Yeah, of course.
It doesn't cut to black, and then all the media outlets picked up and are like, "Hey, did everyone know this? This is happening." Like, guys, give it a week. Give it a week.
Yeah,
Why do you need to tell people this is going on? Because what is better word of mouth is if it hadn't been spoiled anywhere, and the only people who knew were the people who saw the movie, they would all do the exact same thing. They would all say to other people who haven't seen it, "You fuck man, you got to see it. You never believe who shows up in this movie. I'm not going to tell you, but you got to see it. It's incredible." And everyone would go, "Oh fuck, I got to go see it." It's like Sixth Sense. Like no one told you how Sixth Sense ended unless they were a piece of shit.
Yeah.
They went, "Holy shit, man! This movie, the twist at the end, you got to see it." Like I couldn't believe it, and people went, "Fuck, I better go see it this weekend."
As audiences, we're pretty good with that stuff.
We understand.
It's the
like,
media that sucks at
spoil
it. You know what I mean? Like I went opening day, first session, and when Blade walked out, I lost my mind. I forgot that they were talking about that I'd read somewhere. Oh, he's going to wear the mask. When he pulled the mask down, I was like, oh shit.
Oh yeah, I had no idea that was coming.
Yeah, it was so. You get so much more out of it when you, especially as fans. So it just seems really counterintuitive as a marketing plan to give away so much stuff. Like we're not, trust us, we're cool. We're not idiots. We've been doing this for a long time now. We're movie fans. Just relax.
Yeah. And I think I'm surprised even now. Like I've been on social media the last few days and I've shared some stuff with you guys in sort of, I guess, prep for talking about this thing, and more and more stuff's coming out. But it's like a lot of the articles, God forbid I hadn't seen the movie, because they're telling us all now, oh, well, Wesley Snipes appeared as Blade in this film. And it's like they gave it about a week, and then it's like, well, if you haven't seen it, bad luck, because if you're going to scroll through social media, you're going to know exactly who's in this film. I still think it's like, I just give it a bit of time. Does it have to? But no, they have to tell us that Wesley Snipes has broken a Guinness Book record. His book of records on two fronts. It's like, who cares?
That is pretty cool. But I like that Wesley got like something a little extra out of this, because everyone was saying like, oh, Hugh Jackman's going to have the Guinness World Record for the longest break between characters and longest time playing a character in a superhero movie. And everyone just seemed to forget how long ago Blade came out.
Yeah.
And then it was Agent Zero for all this shit. Everyone thinks it was X-Men, and it wasn't.
And that was Blade.
It came out just after The Matrix came out and fucking just blew everybody's tits off,
And it's a fun thing that I never knew, and it's one of the only good things to come out of like people ruining the shit out of this, is I've seen a couple artists talking about like canonically Blade dresses how he dresses because of Wolverine. Like he wears the overcoat he wears because the first time they meet, Blade got fucked up in a fight and was just bleeding to death, and Wolverine had on that coat and took it off and wrapped him up and like rescued him, and he was like, I'm never taking it off because it reminds me of the greatest guy I've ever met. So
that's
in comic
awesome.
books, like Blade fucking loves Wolverine and is ever grateful for him, and I was just like, that's nice. And also, my dream for the next movie, I know you say they're done, but this movie is going to make $1 billion. It's currently at like $890 million worldwide, but just under 400 domestic. It has blown expectations completely out of the water. People don't know how to gauge box office anymore. They thought that they thought Twisters was going to make maybe 120 million domestic. They were like, oh, maybe we'll get like 200 domestic out of Deadpool Wolverine. All of the predictors can go to hell. They've completely shit the bed on it. We're getting another one, whether or not Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman are in it. We're getting another kind of this.
If it's
I want the next one to be Deadpool and Wolverine and Blade and Elektra and Gambit. That's what it's called. That's the name of it. And I want them to basically be like kind of an X-Force, and they just go and they fuck shit up.
That's so good. Deadpool and Wolverine and Blade and Elektra and Channing Tatum as Gambit, and that's the name of the movie.
That's fucking.
That's great.
Like,
perfect.
Lean on it, guys. Let's go.
I'd like them to do. You can keep Wolverine and Deadpool and Blade, absolutely, but give me a Punisher in there. And motherfucking Moon Knight, and make a goddamn Midnight Suns movie, which is like the Dark Avengers kind of shit. Like, I would watch the hell out of that.
And Ghost Rider was going to be Ghost Rider was going to be in the Kang Dynasty. He's the other character I couldn't remember.
Oh, really?
He was the other one who was going to be part of the team.
Do you reckon it'd be Cage? Do you reckon they asked him for this? Do you reckon they went to Nicolas Cage? He goes, "Oh, sorry, I'm a little busy."
That's a good Cage. I think if they asked him, he would have made the time.
Yeah, right. He's in everything.
He loves that character too. He loves. I almost called him Johnny Storm. What is he? Johnny Blaze? What's his name?
Johnny Blaze.
Johnny. Jeez, that would look. That joke would have been amazing if you had have had Johnny Blaze and Johnny Storm in the one movie and let Ryan Reynolds just rip shit on that. Like, that's a great scene. It doesn't need to go anywhere. It can just be him complaining about how unoriginal the writers are. That'd be very fun. But yes, a Midnight Suns movie with Deadpool would be phenomenal.
It'd work. It'd fucking work.
I do not think we've seen the last of Hugh in this role. I think he's, especially after this making so much money, I think he also has the golden ticket. And if he wants to make another type of Wolverine movie that he always dreamed of making, I think that the gloves are off and he can do whatever he wants now. And
they already made it. They already teased it. It's one of the variants. It's Old Man Wolverine, and he's sitting there looking like motherfucking Clint Eastwood in The Unforgiven.
Well, isn't Old Man Logan also the storyline where Hulk stays Hulk for like a long time, has a bunch of kids, becomes a cannibal? She-Hulk. Yeah, and he eats people, and he's like completely insane.
It's like The Hills Have Eyes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's that Mark Miller edgelord horse shit, like fucking Kick-Ass and all that stuff that I can't stand. But the actual story, the idea.
But don't you want to see Hugh Jackman fight Cannibal Hulk? Like, wouldn't that be
absolutely.
amazing?
But he doesn't need to, have sex with his cousin and have a bunch of weird inbred kids. You can keep that part of it out. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they probably. I think
it's Disney. I don't think they'll go down that path, will they?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. They certainly broke ground on this one.
Yeah, but I think dollar signs made a big difference. I think.
Yeah. I agree.
This movie making the money it's making, I think a lot of those untitled Marvel movies that were set for the next few years have been binned, and new ideas are being thrown up on the big board right now because I think Marvel has finally recognized that audiences want to go to the movies and have fun. They want to have a silly, fun time. And if you're going to send us to watch a bunch of adults in spandex, make it fun. Don't try and tell us that we have to take this seriously. Something else I realized in this movie that I had been missing as a comic book fan and as a movie fan, they call the characters their character name. They call Deadpool Deadpool. They call Wolverine Wolverine. They call Gambit Gambit. None of this, like, calling all of the characters in all the Avengers movies just their regular names. Hey, Tony. Oh, yeah. What's going on, Bruce? Shut the fuck up and call him Iron Man. What are you doing? That's the Hulk. You say the Hulk when you're talking to him. I don't want to hear two guys talk about science. I don't want any of you to use your fucking first names. You are superheroes, you piece. Like, I don't think they ever refer to Black Widow as Black Widow.
No, because it's a designation as well. Like, she's not just the Black. Like, there's other Black Widows as well. It's sort of like it's a catch-all. But yeah, it's like in Batman v Superman. Dawn of Justice. They never refer to Batman as Batman. It's the Bat of Gotham. The Bat. He's the Bat. I think they maybe say Batman once, and it's
like, come on, man.
Line.
Let's go. Let's call them their
superhero
names.
Fucking go.
Let's go. And call this goddamn guy Blade.
So we had fun, did we not?
I had fun. I have tiny gripes, but far outweighed by fun. I can't wait for this movie to come out on streaming or physical media so that I can rewatch it. Just rewatch the opening scene 10 times.
Yeah, it's funny because I have to almost rewind all the way to the start of the podcast when Regan did say about watching Deadpool 2 and listening to the commentary, because the version I watched again recently, I didn't even realise I had. So I had Deadpool 2 in 4K, but it's like a 4-disc package, and there is the standard theatrical cut, which obviously I was very aware of. And then there was, is it called the Super Duper cut? I think it's called Super Duper cut.
When they're talking about it on that commentary, they're talking about it and it's called the Extreme cut. And it's...
Oh, okay.
But the Super Duper cut is probably what they released it as,
Yeah.
But then there's also the one they did that was recut and to be PG, and it's got Fred Savage in it. It's Once
the
Upon
Christmas
a Deadpool.
one, Once Upon a Deadpool, yes, I remember that. One day I want to do like just a social media like little side episode where you show the listeners your physical media collection, Cable, because I don't think they appreciate when you say, I didn't even realize I had this. It's not because you're forgetful. It's because you have like a household worth of physical media to sort through. And I don't know how you remember a single physical copy of a movie that you own.
Yeah,
And
it's hard
I know
work.
that there are movies you have multiple copies of because
Yeah.
you own them and you bought it again.
Well, you did it on different versions too. You know, you get your Blu-ray, your 4K. Sometimes you
I
go standard
own
there.
Creed 3 in 4K twice because I didn't know I'd already bought it once.
It's a baller movie though. If one runs out, you've got. I mean, I don't know what happens to 4K discs.
I
but,
mean,
you know,
And funnily enough, that's got Jonathan Majors in it too. So, and he plays
Michael B.
Richard
Jordan
Forrest.
owes
great
you
performance.
like a dinner because I think you're the only person in the world who owns Creed 3 2 times on 4K.
2 times a Creed 3.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Bizarre.
I mean, I think we smashed it. I don't think there's anything that we've missed. Do you guys think?
Oh, look, I mean, I'm sure there's things we'll get off, as soon as we hang up the line. There'll be something we remember that we didn't discuss. But and Angus, I think, has got it. But I just before I sort of start signing off, look, I love seeing Wesley Snipes' Blade. I do have a very big affinity for those films. I like the fact that there was a throwback to obviously Blade Trinity and Ryan Reynolds, who played. Did he play Hannibal King? Is that the character?
King, yeah.
And the fact that him and Blade don't like each other, so that becomes a 20-year running joke in this film. There's the little, we didn't even discuss this, but the fact that Wolverine doesn't like Bye Bye In Sync, which was in X-Men 2. So there's a bit of a throwback there. Yeah, there's some great stuff in the movie, and I'm sure there's a lot of Easter eggs I still missed out on that I'd love to go back and see again. So, I look, again, like Angus sort of said, I've got a little gripes. I kind of missed some of the characters that are part of Deadpool's world in the first 2 movies. I would have loved to have seen a little bit more of them, understand why they weren't there. But overall, I went there for 2 hours of fun and walked away happy enough. Like, again, I didn't have to go home for a nap and a biscuit. I went home and enjoyed the rest of the day.
Got on with your fucking life. Yeah, that's what it is. I went there, in the morning. There was about 4 other people in the cinema. I had my popcorn and just had a good time at the movies, and that's all I can ask for. If I want to feel something, I'll fucking come home and put on Place Beyond the Pines, or you know what I mean, like something, or Blue Valentine, something that's got some weight to it.
Yeah.
Lawrence
Just everything
of
with Ryan
Arabia.
Gosling is what I'm hearing. Anytime you see Ryan Gosling on the screen, you immediately feel something.
Yeah, well, it's a complicated feeling. I'll tell you that much. La La Land, whatever. But yeah, if I want to just go and have a good popcorn time, this is the perfect thing. And I'll just say before I finish up, I don't know if you guys saw this. It was the Hot Ones, that interview they do where people eat hot wings while they're being interviewed.
Yeah, there's a good one with Ryan and
They were on it together, and he talked about the idea that they had as like a reverse marketing campaign of making the first 5 minutes of a movie called Alpha Cop.
Yeah.
Yes.
And having it be really
two
bad
cops,
and have
one brain.
2 cops, 1 brain.
balls.
And they do a thing, and then 5 minutes in, the Marvel logo hits, and then it's Deadpool and Wolverine. Can you fucking imagine if that happened? Because some people would go and see it ironically, and they'd be like, hang on a second, wait a minute, what the fuck? And then word would get out, and Alpha Cop would become the highest grossing film of all time.
Yeah.
It would have been amazing.
It would have been amazing. I think that hopefully Marvel lets Ryan Reynolds and people like Ryan Reynolds who have good ideas that aren't quite just part of that cookie cutter go a little bit wider. Something we didn't really touch on about we kind of skirted around it. We didn't really touch on it doesn't do it earnestly throughout the movie. It kind of hits us with it at the end, but it does consistently reinforce something throughout this movie, and it's quite impressive that Ryan Reynolds got this through the gate, because I'm sure it was him that was driving it. This movie is essentially like announcing to everyone, don't fucking forget how we got where we are. It's not Marvel, it's the Fox superhero movies. It's Blade, it's Elektra, it's Daredevil, it's the X-Men, it's me, it's fucking Hugh Jackman carrying the whole goddamn 20th Century Fox logo on his back.
Yeah.
Like, the reason these movies are here is not because of Kevin Feige in the Marvel universe. They jumped on our back, and it really is a love letter to those characters and those films, and the whole movie. Like, literally having the 20th Century Fox logo buried in the dirt, in the void, being like, look at what you've thrown away.
Actually, I'm glad you brought that up.
Fit in.
Because
Tyler Mane coming back as Sabretooth for a cameo to finally have the battle with Wolverine, where he just cuts off his head, which I think is just fucking amazing.
What's that? Little Timmy's down the well.
And a different actor, but having Toad and having the original kind of interpretation of Juggernaut.
I'm actually glad you just brought that up, because that was the one thing I had seen in publicity shots when we first found out Hugh Jackman was coming back as Wolverine. He was in the costume. Was that broken down, I guess, statuesque of 20th Century Fox, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be kind of cool, and obviously the homage to 20th Century Fox, but to say that that's all in the past now and we're moving forward. But
showing us the clips at the end of like all the different Fantastic Four movies, all the different things that allegedly didn't work, and those actors, and I think Ryan Reynolds feels this very deeply because it almost happened to him twice, because he was cast aside after X-Men Origins when the Deadpool that he was forced to do didn't work, and then he was cast aside again when Green Lantern didn't work. Is he knows what it's
Blade 3 was supposed to be spin-offs of those characters, and because Blade 3 didn't work,
he knows what it's like to be a part of something that audiences turn on and then studios bin, and then you're the one who has to wear it, because the studios move on and the audience is like, we forget who released Fantastic Four, but we remember we didn't like, that Fantastic Four movie where they had Michael B. Jordan being Johnny Storm and Billy Elliot was the thing, and I didn't like that movie, and I don't like those actors now, and people still, hang shit on Jennifer Garner for Elektra. It's something I think that only someone who's gone through it would take the time to go, no. Like, I get it. Deadpool is in the MCU now. We're a part of a different world. But I refuse to like piss on the ashes of these people who built this fucking thing. I'm gonna spend the whole movie reminding everyone, this is why you have these things you like. These guys built your toys. Fucking remember that. And put a little respect on their name. I think
that's probably
it's kind of the point
sell.
of the movie. If the movie has a point, the overarching thing is like, you're here because of 20th Century Fox superheroes, not because of Marvel superheroes. I'm surprised he didn't also just like hold up a picture of Tim Burton and Richard Donner at one point and be like, and these guys as well. Fucking remember where you came from.
Well, I think the idea of paying homage, but also just like giving reverence to stuff that people have thrown away. That's the phone call. Hey, Jennifer, do you want to be in Deadpool 3? No. Why would I want to do that? Well, because you got treated poorly and we want to bring you back so you can kick some major fucking ass.
We're going to make Elektra a fucking badass.
Do you want to stand next to Wolverine and stab some motherfuckers with your awesome size skills that you dedicated yourself to for years and years, making Daredevil and shit? Yes, I do. That's absolutely so. And what you said about the Fox universe and it all coming from there, and Kevin Feige was nowhere to be seen. He was Avi Arad's PA. He was second on all of these things. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like second assistant director or whatever the hell it is, like personal assistant. That guy started out, he was down at the bottom and now he's up at the top. Like to have some idea of that sort of rise, it would not have even been possible if it wasn't for Blade doing so well at first. And of course, the year before Blade, or 2 years before Blade, was Batman and Robin. The comic book movie was in the toilet. If Blade didn't work, none of this happens. So,
no.
Wesley, come back, mate. You've got, and you see, I don't know if you've done this intentionally, Cable, but he had the salt and pepper beard going on as well. And
no, I didn't. I did not grow it intentionally. No.
No, I thought maybe you put a little bit of flour or something.
Oh no, it's there. I just haven't colored it.
That's just how committed he is to Blade. If Blade's going grey, Cable's going grey. All right, he believes in Wes. I think. Do you think maybe post Deadpool Wolverine, do you think Mahershala Ali might get a little out of the way, mate, and we bring back Wes? Do you think they would bring back Wesley Snipes?
Well, it depends what they want to.
He was throwing some kicks, like he's still got it. I don't know.
It depends what they want to do with the character and how long they want the character to survive within their universe. But
they won't do it till they're 90.
I know that's the joke. But personally, if Wesley wants to do it, I don't know why you wouldn't have Wesley, because it's somewhere down the line too. You got to. It's all about making money, right? Surely now, who owns the back catalogue of the Blade films? I don't know, because it was New Line Cinema and Marvel. I'm not sure who owns it, but I think
Disney owns it outright now. They bought everything outright.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's like if they own it, if they have Wesley Snipes for Blade 4, for instance, or part of the MCU, all of a sudden people go, oh, I haven't seen those Blade films. I'll go back to them. They'll buy the box set. Like, it's still turning over. The cash register keeps ringing. So, why wouldn't you? Why would you bring and no disrespect to anyone that was going to be in the shoes, but I sometimes think, well, if you better the devil you know and what people like, why would you, if that person wants to come back and they're good at what they do, keep bringing them back till they don't want to. Like, why do you have to recast all the time?
I mean, what are you going to do? Bring back Sticky Fingers from the Blade TV shows? That was a TV show that was on Spike TV. No, you're not. You're going to get people to go out and buy their 4K of Blade, which is a really good 4K transfer if you.
Noted.
It's really, really good because it was shot 35. Like the blacks are really rich. It's the DVD that gets the 4K in my collection that gets the most play actually. But yeah,
I can't see his hands. Cable is ordering this on his phone as you speak.
I know he's looking
Amazon
typing it in.
Blade.
Hey Siri, order Blade 4K.
No, you fucking loser! I'm not going to do that.
My phone just tried to do it.
Did it? You own it now. You own that. Yeah, enjoy.
You know what? I'm not even angry about it. I'll take it.
You shouldn't be. It's the best. Yeah, no, bring Wes back. I'm excited.
I think now we've crushed everything. I can't think of anything left that was hanging around in my brain as we led into today's episode. Have you got anything left, Cable?
No, I'm good. I think I'm good.
Yeah, no, I'm very pleased that we got to chat about this. I would have chatted about it on my show, but we were on hiatus. So it's thanks for having me on and letting me chat about it. Now it's gone dark again. Oh no!
Oh,
there it is.
You keep disappearing on us.
It was Blade. He's coming in now, and we've got some vampirism going on, so better get taken out.
What a way to go! Oh my God! Imagine getting killed by Blade. The best.
If it's that sexy Blood Rain nightclub, I'm in.
Oh yeah.
That sounds like days.
I guess on that note, instead of all sequels sucking, I think we're going to say, let's fucking go.
Sneak.
Oh, there's an idea for you. Jason Mewes as an alternate Wolverine in another timeline.
That would be great.
He'd do it. He'd fucking do it as well.
Yeah, 100%.
He'll do your movie. Jason Mewes will do your movie. Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, guys. That was super fun.
Hey, Sequel Suck fans.
By definition alone, they're inferior films.
I almost remake a quick warning of this episode is the screen